Hello and welcome to Have FPL Have a Beer, where I invite you to have a beer with me and discuss FPL. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. So, as you may know, by the time this video comes out, I'm imagining I'm probably going to have had 2 tier lists come out on FPL content. And with the recent fuss about the assistant manager chip, I thought it would be interesting to do a tier list of FPL chips past and present. And I've also been looking for an excuse to do a video with my good friend Steve-O, who I decided to invite onto the channel. It's 2 of my favourite things, tier lists and Steve-O. How you doing, Steve-O?
It's a good thing this isn't a total C of the podcast, because I would have said something that's a bit rude. But yeah, thank you for... Do you want to tell the audience that me and you met in person?
We did. We met in person. So this probably ain't, I probably should have said, probably won't release this till January, Steve-O. But yeah, we're recording about a week before Christmas, and we had the pleasure of going on FPL Juice on was it Tuesday, wasn't it?
That's correct. Yeah.
It was really good. It was really good fun. It's so different meeting people in. I know you've told me about it quite a bit, but it's so different meeting people in person, isn't it?
Yeah, I know you've banged on about the fact you want to go to one of the Fantasy Football Fest, and I haven't personally been to FFS, but it's going to be the equivalent of an FF. No, not a fest. I've been to Meets and Planet FPL.
Is the fest the one
I've never been to
that only happens in August?
That's correct, yeah. And it's something that I want to participate in the sense of I would love to be able to do some form of stream from there, but it's just getting it all set up, which I can't be bothered with. But anyway, whatever, we're not here to talk about that. But what I will say is that meeting people in person, especially in the FPL community, is the most surreal but most pleasurable thing imaginable, so to speak, because you're meeting weirdly, you're meeting people that you either listen to or watch, and it's like I always use the example of meeting Yelena for the first time. It's like, oh my god, it's Yelena, I don't believe it. Or when I met Nick and Ash for the first time, it's just like, oh my god, it's very strange, because we're all just normal regular people. We're not like big time or anything, and yet we consume each other's content so often that you feel like, I know Mind Pump get this a lot, where people will come up to them and talk to them about like their family and lives, and they're like, sorry, who are you? And it's, oh wait a minute, I've got to remember that I do a podcast literally talking about my family, and these people have been listening to me for years. So yeah, it's a surreal experience, but I highly recommend yourself or anybody that's never been to a FPL meet to do it, basically.
Yeah, not me and Steve-O are not in a relationship all of a sudden, but it did remind me generally a little bit of. Do you remember when Yelena on the interview I said with her said, well, I don't know, she gets on with ads so well in part because of FPL, and you kind of know when you're going to meet people in an event like that. At the very, very least, you've got FPL in common, but you've probably got more in common because.
Do you know, I know we're not supposed to be. Again, this is an Elite FPL Patreon, but she reminded me on your interview of how they met, because I remember it being like quite a big thing at the time. Genuinely, I actually remember on X people saying like about Az and Yelena meeting up, and there was a bit of teasing going on with certain members of the community.
Oh, people knew about it, did they?
Oh yeah, because it was all public. It was all because obviously when people are commenting to one another, it's like in real life, isn't it? When you're speaking to a girl on a regular basis, all your workmates are like, "What's going on here?" You know, and it's nothing, and then eventually you go on a date with them. It's the same what happened with Yelena and Az. It was just 2 people that have a lot of things in common, and like Az made the point. Oh, I've seen on X that you're going to be in my area. Do you want to meet up? Yeah, sure. Right, done. And then they just end up.
I'd DM someone that. I wouldn't put that on their page thingy. I don't know.
Well, maybe I'm confusing stories that I've heard on Black Box and possibly, from Yelena herself on Juice, but certainly the ex FPL community, shall we say, kind of knew about them going out, and then eventually it turned into this blossoming relationship, which I'm jealous about. But you know.
Anyway, Steve-O, I will move us swiftly on to a tier list on.
Oh yeah, we're doing that, aren't we? Yeah.
So here's the basic idea. I'm gonna introduce the chip, briefly say what it is. I'm gonna give my opinion. Steve-O's gonna give his opinion. We'll see if we agree, and then we've got to agree a tier list ranking for each of these. So if you've never watched a tier list before, it's basically either stands for special or superb, something like that. Basically, that's the like awesome, brilliant category, and then the other 4 categories work like you're being graded at school. So A is second best, B is average, C's below average, and D's a pile of shit. Essentially, that's how I understand it. Anyway, so Steve, before we start, do you like? I mean, were you playing before they started introducing chips? Because you've been playing longer than me, haven't you?
Yes, I was playing way before the chips were introduced, and at the time, a bit like with the assistant manager chip, it was just, oh wow, what's this going to do to the game, and how are we going to drop them into our various strategy plans? And then,
so was there such a big furore like there has been with this assistant manager one?
I'll be honest, I cannot remember. I genuinely cannot. I mean, I'll ask you, with any research that you've done, do you know when the chips first came out? What season, roughly?
You think I've done research for this?
I'm guessing maybe 2015, 16.
Well, I started playing in 14, 15, and at that point there was already wildcard, triple captain, and all-out attack.
Right, so bloody hell! Well, then way before. Wow, that's extraordinary.
Yeah,
then I can't comment then when it first came out, but definitely, obviously, wildcard I've always known about. That's always been, but
that was always in there.
Oh yeah. Certainly for me, and triple captaincy, all out attack, and I believe it was.
Oh, bench boost was there as well.
Yeah, those 3 chips must have come out maybe a couple of seasons after I started playing. Maybe I'm probably speaking absolute twaddle. Jonty, your new best mate, will probably be able to tell you more. But certainly from my point of view, what I vaguely remember is it was something new, refreshing, and something different, especially at the time when triple captain, we were like, I don't believe it. We get triple points without realising, it's just an extra 10 points on top of your points that you've already got.
Do you like them then in a general sense, without going into the specific ones at the minute? Do you think they make the game better?
It's like with anything, isn't it? There's a yes and no answer. Yes, because it gives you that opportunity to make more points. No, because it just ends up with the same old strategy, which is give or take, use it in the blank game weeks when they come up for specifically towards the latter end of the season when the FA Cup takes over. And with the triple captaincy and the bench boost, use it towards, again, the end of the season, game week 36, game week 38. It's unfortunately, they've turned a bit flat, in my opinion.
Although that may change this season, so we haven't got so many double game weeks towards the end, have we? Because of the FA Cup things. I think that's why they introduced the assistant manager, to try and spice it up a little bit with those lack of double game.
I think we're probably going to spend more time talking about that than any other chip.
Quite possibly.
And we haven't even used it yet.
I know, I am a little bit worried about rating that one, because I'm a bit worried whatever I say and perhaps you say might come back to haunt us. So shall we jump into it then, Steve-O?
Let's go for it, yeah.
We'll do the wild card first. So for anyone, I mean, why are you watching this if you don't know what these are? But the wild card basically means you can transfer all your players out and transfer a completely new set of players in. You can do it as many times as you like in a single game week, and it won't affect it won't cost you any money, basically, or it won't cost you any points. So I thought about splitting these into 2, Steve-O, the first wild card and the second wild card, but then I decided not to, because I think maybe in previous seasons, like we just alluded to, with the second wild card was kind of used differently, because it was used for those later double game weeks, wasn't it? But now that it's not, I mean, I guess it's just it's a way of completely refreshing your team, isn't it? So there's a couple of things that come to mind. I mean, I'll put my case forward. I am going to suggest we put this in S. I think it's the most powerful chip in the game. But a couple of things. I think possibly some of that power has been diminished from the fact we can now save up 5 transfers, which means, possibly. Would you agree with that?
Ray made the point to me that for my personal team, as we're talking right now, it doesn't look like it needs to be wildcarded for a very, very, very long time. because of the free amount of transfers that we've got. And also the fact that, and I think this annoyed me actually this season, when they went, oh yeah, when you had to activate your wild card now, not only do you get those unlimited transfers, but you get to keep the transfers that you rolled over previously.
You didn't like that?
Really? I don't know. I just find that it just helps managers more instead of like, I'm a cynical git, and I know most people know that. I'm not going to profess to be the happiest man on the planet. I'm no Ned Flanders, but whenever I watch Deal or No Deal, which is whenever I'm at my mum's basically, and you've got this like today's episode where the banker goes, right, I'm going to give you a good offer here, £6,500.
That's still brilliant. That's not still going, is it? Surely.
It's come back with Stephen Mulhern. It's rubbish. It's not great. I think it's pants. But anyway, Deal or No Deal died when it became all about the contestants and showing emotion rather than actually being about the game. But anyhow, so
it's not really a game, Steve, is it? It's a bunch of bloody boxes. I know we were going to go into tangents on this, but it's a bunch of boxes. I mean, it's not really. Well, I guess it's a game, but
no, you are right, but when you've got someone involved in it who wants to buy the box for X amount of money, and you kind of look at it from an odds perspective. So in today's episode, the bloke was offered, it was either £5,000 or £6,000. Let's just say £6,000. And he said, right, I'm going to be able to go to China, go to Japan, go to all the Disneylands that I want to go to. Not only that, but I'll be able to travel around every other country on the planet as well and still have a few quid left. Okay, then you get a deal. No deal. And I'm looking at this going, but you've got 5 blues and 3 reds. Your luck throughout this whole game has been absolutely terrible, constantly picking reds. Take the blasted money. But he didn't, so I just thought, stuff you then. And guess what, Gary? Next box to open was a penny. I'm thinking, oh, congratulations, well done. You've opened up the penny. And then I said, please, just punish him by taking out the 100 grand next. And that's exactly what he did. And I went, good. Serves you right for being selfish. And going back to the chips and the wild card, we are given free transfers. At the time, it was 2. And it's a way in which FPL wants to help you change your team around if and when necessary. And then the wild card is there if, in an emergency, you really do need to change 4, 5, 6 players, whatever number you need to change. And if you're a good FPL manager, if you've been planning correctly, you should have the right amount of transfers throughout each week, knowing that, well, in game week 4, I'll have saved up my 2, whatever it works out to be. And it means then I can do maybe a -4 to bring in 3, like a mini wild card, like it used to be called, blah, 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 blah. Whereas, and then if you use your wild card and you've been saving up deliberately 2 transfers, and then you use the wild card and you lose it, it's like, well, that's your own fault for not using the transfers. You knew the risks going into it, not using these transfers. Your planning's been terrible.
All right, let me put another way. I'll play the devil's advocate. You could say that someone who's managed to save up 5 transfers has been planning well and has done well because they've saved up their 5 transfers. Why should they lose those because they want to play the wild card?
Yes, that is true. But you take someone like Ash from FPL Juice, who has done that strategy, who has saved up his wild card till the last minute.com, and look where it's got him. He's gone further back than I have. In the game, I'm amazed I haven't taken him over yet.
Sorry, Nick. Was it Nick or Ashley?
Ash.
That's on Ash basically.
Well, of course, yeah, because he's being really cocky, saying, "Well, I don't need to change my players around because the fact that I'm doing quite well at the game." He was doing well, not amazingly, but he was doing well enough where he was able to go on stream and go, "Why do I need to change my team around?" Well, now look at it. I would argue that players like myself who have legitimately, like, don't get me wrong, I'm nowhere near to the level of Ben Crellin or James from Planet FPL, Christ. But within reason, I've got enough planning where I'm happy with my team for X, Y, and Z weeks, and then unless an emergency kicks into play, I'll do a transfer. My problem with this season, without wanting to go on a tangent, but I will just quickly, is that my luck's just been completely out this season, i.e. with Mazraoui, with the annoying assist that was removed. Okay, yes, I get the fact that it got to Fernandes. He went to shoot for goal and the ball slightly took a deflection off another player and it went down as an own goal. I get that, but really, come on, get a grip of yourself. It should have been a Fernandes goal and a Mazraoui assist. Then there was the clean sheet that Man United lost and Mazraoui gets taken off before the 60th minute, so I don't get any clean sheet points. And there's been the odd occasion where I've captained the player which I think will do extremely well, and then that is the one time where they completely fail and miserably, whereas the differential picks where nobody was thinking of captain and goes on to do well. But whatever. But
woe is life, Steve-o.
Yeah, exactly. But I pride myself on the fact that knowing that I've got 2 free transfers, or in this case 3, 4, 5, whatever, it's that jeopardy of like, well, I'm going to need to make sure that I'm planning these transfers in, because if I use that wild card, I'm going to lose them. Well, now, not only can you wild card, but you can say 5 transfers, do your wild card, and then use those 5 transfers afterwards, just in case you've messed up the wild card.
Okay, so to keep us on track, Steve-o, that makes you... Well, assuming that you like the wild card in the first place, this takes away from your liking of the wild card. Would that be fair to say? I'm thinking about where we're going to put this.
The fact that you can keep your transfers after the wild card has decreased my interest in the wild card, but that's all dependent on anybody that's lucky enough to have 5 transfers, 4 or 5 transfers.
Yeah, you've got to get there in the first place, haven't you?
Yeah, you got to get there in the first place. I still think the wild card is fantastic. I mean, remember, we were playing it when there was only 1 wild card, and that was after January. That was it. Now it's you got 2.
Yeah.
Is it 1 for the whole season and then 1?
No, you got one before game week 19, isn't it, or January, something like that, and then 1 after, roughly.
Okay, yeah. So I think that now you've got essentially almost 3 wild cards a season, if not more, if you're doing if you've saved up 5 free transfers.
How have we got 3?
No, I mean, it's in like you've got the 2 actual wild cards, and then if you've got 5 free transfers, that's essentially another wild card, isn't it? Give or take.
Half a wild card, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because most people, when they do a wild card, they don't change the whole team. They probably change at most maybe 7 players. Yeah. Maybe. There's the odd person that will change the whole team. I get that. But usually it's 6 to 8 players that they'll change. The rest they'll keep, because why would you get rid of Salah, Palmer, Saka, Haaland, those types of players?
You could actually have, like, if you wanted to view it like that, you could have, trying to do some maths, 5 into 38, you could almost have 7 or 8 wild cards by saving up 5 free transfers.
Well, this is
so you can actually get 10. Yeah. So that for you significantly decreases the power of the original wild card as it was still this season.
Yeah, if it stayed, if the wild card rulings, or more specifically the transfer rulings, were the same as all the previous seasons where you lose them, at that point the wild card becomes, like you said, a special, beautiful, must-have chip. Whereas now, it's just, well, do I really need it? That's what I mean about my own team. It's me and Ray are like, do I really need my wild card?
Yeah, I interviewed Praz on Wednesday. So I don't know if that interview would come out before that. And he basically argued that the assistant manager clip now has overtaken. I mean, he's not a fan of the assistant manager clip, but he reckons it's now more powerful than the wild card, because he reckons that could get you 70 or 80 points, whereas on average the wild card might get you 40. Yeah. All right, Stephen. Sorry, go on, mate.
I was just going to say that's the thing with the wild card, is that if you've got a team like mine, where I have got 3 premiums, but I've also got quite a lot of players that a lot of people want to own. So the likes of Robinson, Saka, Palmer, Salah. That's 4 players that a lot of FPL managers talk about on the grapevine wanting to own in the world of FPL at this, as we speak right this second.
Yep.
So you've got them 4 there. Then you've got the likes of Jackson that people want to own. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's a premium pick, but people want to own because of double game week 24. Then you've got an Arsenal defender. Some people want 2, but I've only got 1 at the moment. But I've got Trent and Timber. So of this team here that I've got in front of me, how many players do I not want to own? Well, it's Greaves, Pedro, Flecken, Cunha, Bowen, Fabianski in theory. That's it. 6 players out of my 15 that I don't want.
So the wild card's not that powerful then to you at the moment.
Not for me as it stands right now. And me and Ray look at this team and go, well, you're in a really, really, really strong position here. Which again suggests potentially, well, that means that your planning's really good, Steve. You've actually done a really good job in planning. So
I agree. I'm gonna get us to my favourite bit now. We need to tier list this. So I was originally going to go S, but you've talked me down for that. I mean, where would you?
I'd probably still put it high. I'd probably put it about an A.
Okay, should we go for an A?
Yeah, I think an A is about right for the wild card. Absolutely.
I mean, it's better than average, isn't it? Which is essentially a B. So
yes, yeah.
Let's put it an A. Okay. All right. So next chip is the triple captain. Which, I don't. To be honest, it slightly annoys me that they call it this because it's not really triple. Because triple suggests you get triple the amount of points you're captain, but you don't. You only get an extra point, don't you? You should be double captain or something. Anyway, so if you use this, I'm sure you know what this is, but if I captain Salah and he gets 6 points, if I captain him normally, it gets double to 12. If I play the triple captain for that single game week, another captain score gets added on, so it goes up to 18. So, I mean, I don't think we'll probably spend too long on this one. I mean, my opinion is, first of all, still, it's just 50% extra points. I have had a really good triple captain. First season I played, what was that guy called who was at Arsenal? Sanchez. Alexis Sanchez. I triple captained him. I think it was a double game week and he got 25 points, so that went up to 75, but I've had a lot more. Oh, I did Salah. Do you remember that season where it was Salah versus Mane just before COVID? And then
vaguely.
Mane, it was another double game week, and Mane went off at half, like in the first half of the first game, and I got Salah and he got quite. So I've had 2 really good ones, but all the other ones I can't even remember. What do you think of this chip, Steve-O? Any memories, fond or otherwise?
Well, I know Jason thinks it's over talked about. That's not the correct terminology, but whatever. He doesn't like the thing at all. I think it's at its most powerful in a single game week.
Really? Why?
Well, you think how many people use it in a single game week compared to waiting for a double game week? It's very minimal. You think about all the people that triple captain Haaland this season.
Okay, but it's only more powerful if a player kicks off and does really well in that single game week.
Well, yeah, you could apply that in double game week. You know, the reality is that in a single game week, where most people are just going to be, even if they captain Haaland, the triple captainers are at a bit more of an advantage because they are getting those extra, say, I'm just going to say Haaland got 10 points, even though it wasn't 10, but whatever. I'm just going to go with that. Those additional 10 points in a single game week, I think, seem to be more valuable than in a double because more people are using the chip in the double game week. For instance.
Okay, I'm gonna mansplain to you here, Steve. But
please do.
But you know, Let's Talk FPL Andy, he always says the points are still only worth the same amount. You know what I mean? If Haaland gets 10 extra points in a single game week at the start of the season, those are still only worth the exact same amount of points as.
Of course,
It makes it feel. It feels a bit better. Maybe it gives you a bit more of a buzz. But
of course, yeah, because you're one of the few people that used it.
Yeah.
But on that sentiment, of course, I do agree with what you / Andy say. But overall, though, that's the word I'm looking for. Overpowered, Jason says. I think the triple captaincy is absolute pants.
Okay.
To be honest with you. I mean, you asked about memories. Do I have any?
Yeah.
No. The only one I can remember, actually, fuck that. The only one I can remember is Harry Maguire. That reminds me.
Really?
Man United had a double game week, and he was on top form at the time. And in the first bloody game, he got, I think, a yellow card and a clean sheet wipeout. So he only got 1 point in that game.
Why did you triple captain Harry Maguire?
Mate, I can barely remember this. I
know why it would have been, because Praz mentioned this on the other day. Was it the triple game week?
Yes.
That would be the only logical reason.
Yes, and he was the only guaranteed starter. Of all the Man United, apart from the goalkeeper, he was the only player that was probably going to start all three. Outfield player was going to start all three matches. Yes.
He didn't, though, because they were completely rotated the second game, if I remember.
Well, either way, he was he got injured as well.
That right, so he wouldn't
Maguire got injured. So I'm sure I did a reaction stream to it. I went absolutely ballistic about all of this. And yeah, God, yeah. I also remember a triple captaining Dunk in a double game week.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people did that one, didn't they? I remember that.
Yeah, he was up against Cardiff, I think, and some other rubbish team, both at home. Brighton were really good defensively, and I think they lost both games, conceding like 2 or 3 goals. And I wasn't the only one that captained triple captain Dunk at the time, but certainly for me, the triple captaincy I have had, it has been pants for me.
So where would you put that on? I mean, I was going to go for a B, but as I say, I have had a few.
I'm going to go lower. I was going to go like a C. I just don't think.
I'll go for a C. I'll go for a C. I thought you were going to go for a D. I don't think I could put it down in a D.
No. I wouldn't go for a D. Certainly not. But a C is about right. Yeah.
There is at least one in here that I think deserves to go in D, but which is actually the one we're about to come on to.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, all out attack. Which. So we're happy with that one. Is C? Yes, Steve.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
okay. Good. So all out attack, which I've heard people say. I heard someone say it the other day, actually. I can't remember if it was on Juice. Someone said it meant you could play all of... Anyway, I've heard a lot of misinterpretations about what this actually was. What it was, all it allowed you to do was to play a striker or a midfielder instead of a defender. So you could play, for example, a 2-5-3 formation instead of a 3-4-3 for 1 week. Steve-O, to me, it was only around, I think, maybe the first season I played, or the first 2 seasons. I thought it was a complete waste of time, and I think I actually lost points from it both times. This is the one that I've got, like, D useless straight away. But what do you reckon?
I can again barely remember any of this. I mean, ironically, it's because of your brilliant interview podcast where the likes of Praz or Jonty will pop up with these pieces of information from FFF Scout.
You've repressed them, or they've just disappeared.
Well, yeah, probably. And I do not remember. Well, I remember the all-out attack chip, of course, but to me being able to have 3 strikers and basically all my attack and outfield players playing, and having to bench my defender. When you think about it, who really cares?
I mean, like this week, it would mean, if I could think, my worst defender this week is who I'm starting is Timber, maybe against whoever they're playing this week. Is it Crystal Palace? I can't remember. I could play Solanke against Liverpool instead of Timber versus Crystal Palace. I mean, it's, Solanke's my first bench. It really is. I mean, the predicted points for those two is probably, if anything, Timber's probably predicted higher points.
Yeah, and well, if we're doing that game, then it would be Pedro in for either one of Trent, Timber, or Robinson.
That's for you.
So I'd probably play João Pedro over Timber, for instance, and then I'd have a 8-man forward line of Bowen, Palmer, Salah, Saka, Ahmad, Cunha, Jackson, and Pedro.
But I think that could quite as easily go against you as it could go.
Of course,
for
yeah.
You.
If anything, it'd probably come out as equal.
Yeah, probably. So if you
and
took on it,
if you were doing this through the double game week, obviously we as the managers are trying to bring in the most expensive. So it'd be, instead of me having Pedro, it'd be me trying to find a way, how do I get Isaac in my team so I could have that 8th attacker? And really, to do that, I would have to destroy my whole team just to bring in Isaac. So it'd be pretty much getting rid of Trent Alexander-Arnold to bring in Isaac for argument's sake this particular game week in that all-out attack, when in theory they've both got an equal opportunity to get similar points. Even though you probably back Isaac against Ipswich, but it's beside the point. It's not really worth that amount of points, really. And certainly, you've already alluded to it, I think the category D is right. In fact, I'd probably go in an E or an F.
It's I could have added other categories, but D's pretty bad. Yeah, I think that's a nailed on D. Okay. If we get any in the same tier, by the way, Steve, at the end we have to decide which is the worst one, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so this one, bench boost. So bench boost, for, again, just explain in case anyone doesn't know. Basically, as you will know if you play FPL, you have a goalkeeper and 3 outfield players on your bench every week. This chip just allows you to get points for those 4 players in a given game week. Now, go on, Steve.
I was going to say, if anybody here listening in or watching this doesn't know what any of these chips are, comment below and you'll be ridiculed, because it reminds me of the many of the episodes in the Wernham Blog Office podcast where someone says, oh, we should do a synopsis of the particular episode, and Danny just basically says, oh, come on. How on earth will somebody listening into this not know episode 1 of series 2 of The Office, for crying out loud? Who on earth will be listening to an Office podcast that isn't an Office fan? Very similar to this, to be honest.
It'd be like someone who's never watched Star Trek watching a podcast about a specific episode of.
Well, I will say that I was listening into a very, very, very detailed Lost podcast, but I was watching Lost. But
have you tried? The one I recommended to you? Bloody hell, I can't remember now. Lost Explained.
No, this was a very detailed. We're talking episodes being nearly 3.5 hours.
I know
long.
that I've seen one of them. I've never got through the whole one.
Yeah, well, anyway, when I was listening into them, it got to the point where I'm like, I have no idea what the hell these guys are talking about. I can't imagine anybody like this.
Excuse me.
Bench boost. To be honest, I think whenever I watch tier lists or listening to things like this, actually, it just brings back memories for me. And that's when I want to comment on the video to say, oh, it's funny you mentioned bench boost because I remember. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we're bringing back memories for your list, for your audience.
Yes, please. It's good. Please, I'm trying to remember to say this in the middle of each video now, Steve. So please like if you're enjoying the video, subscribe to support the channel, and comment below what are your experiences of, for example, the bench boost. So, Steve-O, in one way, this chip is there's no negatives to it. You just hit the button and you get the points on your bench. But historically, of course, and again, this may not apply so much this season because historically people have wildcarded in, say, game week 33 before a double to get a good bench, put a load of money on their bench, and then not had enough game weeks. You know, if it goes well and you get a good score from your bench, maybe it was worth it. But if your bench boost experiences are like mine, probably more often than not, it doesn't go well, and then you've got a really expensive bench for the rest of the season, and you haven't got enough transfers to get those players out because there's only 6 game weeks left. Now, I don't think that will be an issue this season. I have a feeling I'm going to end up probably using it in a single game week. But what do you think this chip, Steve?
I have never ever had a successful bench boost.
Really?
I think off the top of my head, every time I've used it, it's been. I think last season, what is it they equate it to? So if you're using it in a double game week, you're wanting 16 points minimum from your bench.
Yeah, that's what I say.
From your bench, and I didn't even get that last season. I think I got like 11.
My worst one ever. I can't remember the exact details. It was 3 or 4 years ago. I think it might have been during COVID. I bench boosted a couple of Leeds players and a couple of people. I got 4 points. It was. I can't remember what happened. 2 of them didn't start. The 2 Leeds players. It was an absolute. And I think I had like put money. I had done that strategy and spent money on my bench as well, and it was just like, what the hell was the point of that?
I was thinking this actually earlier on, and I was thinking, I wish I personally had every single game week done some form of written down journal of, at the time, every season. So in game week 1, this was the template team. And then in game week 2, these are the popular transfer picks. These are the players that did well. And then like in game week 34, when it's a double game week, these are the popular moves, this is the popular captain. And just have all this data so then I could just go back to it and go, well, actually, Gary, this is... But I don't think anybody has done this. I don't think anybody has...
I have a spreadsheet of every single move I make every week because F Scout give me one. So I can look back, but it resets every season, so you couldn't go back over season. But also, all the people at Black Books, though, they always do like lessons learned at the end of the season, and they recap it at the start of the season. And by midway through, they've broken like every single rule that they set themselves in the previous seasons. So I don't know how helpful it would be.
Well, I think it's when you do stuff like this, and you're trying to have just a general look back and just to bring back memory. X, Y, and Z, it would be just really interesting to use that as anecdotal evidence, just to be like, well, actually, Steve-o, in the 2019-20 season, the 2019-20 season, I could have picked an easier one, but actually, your bench boost got you 25 points.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you now. I don't have a clue, mate.
Wasn't it Az last season who accidentally hit his bench boost and then got 17 points from Shimikas?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think that went viral, and that literally went into the Sun newspaper.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That is extraordinary. But this was the chip that replaced All Out Attack.
It was, yeah. So I reckon it has to go higher than a D. It's better than All Out Attack. I think we'd agree on that, can't we?
Yeah, I think it's also a chip which a lot of people do strategize around, so that it can be what used. I remember last season, and wasn't it something worse to the effect of wild card, free hit, bench boost, something like that, or wild card, bench boost, then free hit, something along those lines.
The biggest rant I've got saved is for the free hit from last season. You wait for that one, Steve.
Okay, I look forward to that. We're always good for a rant. Well, with bench boost, I do find that even when you have, planned around, like I remember, I don't, but in the past I have strategized around it. So I've got absolute guaranteed starters from each team. This goalkeeper, no matter what's going to play, I've got 2 4.5 playing goalkeepers.
And it feels so nice when you have that all set up and then it just falls apart, but it falls apart.
Of course it does. Because why? Because like you stated, when we get towards the end of the season, we're using them at the time when managers are, especially the ones that got nothing to play for, start playing around with their teams, kind of like using Premier League matches as friendlies to try out players for the following season, for instance. And also, when we are using them in the double game weeks, we forget that, wait a minute here, once this double game week's over, they've then got a Champions League final or a Champions League, whatever the cup game is. We always forget this, and it always ends up with just our palms in our head, just like, why did I go for X, Y, and Z player? When in reality, like you stated, sometimes, take this week, for example, people had Ahmad and Robinson on the bench, for instance. These cheap players which have miraculously come round with, well, in Ahmad's case, a double-digit haul, and Robinson with 2 assists. And it's one of those, a bit like with triple captaincy in a way, where it is, I think, it's just almost based on luck.
Oh, yeah. Well,
more than skill, almost.
The one thing I would say about the bench boost is the fact that we have used it in that way that ties a lot of our money. It is up to us. It's not inherent in the chip. You could hit it in game week 1. All right, so this is what I'm thinking for this, Steve, and tell me if you're wrong. I think it's got to go above all out attack into C. Would you agree with that?
I was thinking more B because of the fun element to the fact that we can have, like you said, 15 double game week players, and it's that anticipation of like,
right,
I could potentially here get, a player on my bench having 2 double-digit returns, and then all my other players getting really high single-digit returns. Whereas something like the triple captaincy, as we've mentioned, is just a bit like, oh great, I've got an extra 10 points. Whoop-de-doo. Whereas bench boost, you've got so many different options to have. In fact, with bench boost, a lot of people have different varying teams as well, because they'll have their core 11, like most have, but then the 4 subs will be something completely different.
Okay, I'll go with that. I mean, we're already saying it's average. B is an average, so, and personally, I would have triple captain above it because.
Really? Well, why is that?
Well, because triple captain, you can't really lose anything, whereas a bench boost. I mean, I think we're looking at it from 2 ways here. I look at it as triple captain, I can't really lose because I'm not going to put too much planning into it, etc. Whereas bench boost, I can lose because I can spend too much time planning it.
But then you can, to use your words, to play devil's advocate, you've put a lot of planning out into it, and it comes out where you've got so many points from that planning and the players that you've got in.
Yeah, so I'll take that point of board. Okay, we'll go B. I probably have it in C, but yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, next one, and I really don't know where I'm going to want to put this one. It's a free hit. It's a free hit for anyone watching. Again, while you're watching this, if you don't know what this is you can change your entire team around for 1 game week, but as soon as that game week's finished, you go back to exactly the same team you had originally the following game week. So this was brought in mainly to battle the blank game weeks, wasn't it? I mean, I think that's pretty obvious.
Wasn't. Now you saying that, am I going completely mad here? Was this brought in either before or during coronavirus? Because a load of games were cancelled and the game were like, I think it was we don't know what to do here.
I think it was in before. I'm sure it was in before because I remember planning my team for a blank game week before COVID and when I'd already used my free hit.
Right. I'm just thinking.
Maybe not long before, but it was around before.
Yeah, I'm probably having false memories, but I'm pretty certain that hold on a minute. I'm thinking of something else. It's when they gave us when the wild card or the deadline messed up and FPL were like, oh my God, we're really, really sorry that they all completely crashed on you. Here's a free hit. I know that something like that happened. Do you remember that?
No, I can't say I do. I remember we got a free wild card after. Do you remember there was the lockdown?
Free wild card, that's it.
There was the lockdown, and then there was no football for 3 months, and then as soon as we came back, I mean, it was essentially a wild card, and a lot of people. I got my best rank at the time, 30,000 that season, because I'd saved my free hit and wild card, so I basically had a free wild card, then a wild card again a couple of weeks later, and then free hit in the last game week.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, so to get back to the free hit, I think it's great for avoiding blank game weeks, and I've always used it in blank game weeks, and this is where I'm going to go on the rant. But a lot of people use it in double game weeks, don't they, as a more positive move. And last year, of course, there was that blank game week.
28. 19, yeah.
Whatever week it was, I was one of the people who used it there, got what looked like the perfect team for that blank game week. I think
I got about 20 points.
I think I got 17, which was actually above average. And then the double in 34, people used it there. To be fair, it didn't hit me as bad as some people because I actually did all right in that double, but people did really well. But anyway, I guess that's not really against the chip. Maybe that's really a plus because strategy and variance and it increases. I mean, what do you think of this chip, Steve?
Well, this caused controversy within the I say controversy in the Elite FPL community when I literally said I will not be using this chipping blank game week 19. It's a load of rubbish. The fixtures are rubbish. Who on earth wants to get Burnley players in, for crying out loud? I think it was Burnley and Fulham, something like that. Yeah. And I was just like, you be idiots if you brought this chip. And there was a few people that kicked off at me.
The one it was Spurs versus Fulham was the one game that everyone was like, we have to use it for that, and then Spurs I think ended up losing like or something.
Mental, isn't it? And this is what's so crazy, because I kind of predicted it would be a rubbish game week, but it was Sam on FPL Juice. I think she was with Yelena as well, and they basically
FPL family, Sam.
And that's it. Yeah, they were saying to Nick that, but you've only got, I don't know, 4 players in this blank game week. This is the exact time you want to be using the free hit. And I was like, she's right, I've only got 5 players in this game week.
Oh, he got talked into it.
So I kind of, subconsciously got talked into it, despite the fact telling, the Elite FPL audience or whoever wanted to watch, like, do not use it. Use it further down the line because these fixtures are rubbish. Who was proven right? Me, in the sense of, the game week was rubbish and you should have used it in double game week 34 or whatever it was. But also egg on my face because I stupidly used it through logical, sound advice from someone that works within FPL, so to speak. And it is like what you, Sam, and many others say, which is, well, it's there to be used in the blank game week.
I think usually it does work out good to use it there.
Of course,
I think that was last season was a bit of a, well, it was like the most extreme, wasn't it?
An anomaly, yes.
Yeah,
of course.
Particularly in that extreme, to get that extreme outcome. But what do you think of it? I think we're going to have to rate it here. I'm trying to take my own personal experiences out. I think it's a really good chip from that perspective because it is made to be used in a blank game week for most people, but you can use it anytime you want. And I think that gives it a real power. But also there is some, what's the word? Jeopardy in it, as in you basically waste the transfer and you go back to the crap team you had beforehand.
Yeah, if you're in someone like Jason's shoes or even FPL Booner's shoes where they like to take big hits, if you're going up to like a -12, -16, that's what the free hit's there for as well. If you've got loads of injuries in your team or unexpected red card, like a bit like with 8 Nurin Cunha, for argument's sake. And if you've got a circumstance where you've got several players in your team that definitely don't play. In fact, there's a guy in the Patreon, Greasy. He's got a team of absolute duds. I think his whole bench is just non-playing players.
For this week.
And he's only got 11 outfield players and he's stuffed. So if a couple of his first teamers don't play, it's like, wait a minute here. I'm going to have to do a minus, however many transfer he is, just to bring in these two. And then, oh, wait a minute, these have got better, and so on and so forth. And he could be looking at maybe a -12, -16. It's like, this could be the perfect time to play a free hit if the fixtures are right and ready. But certainly in a double game week where you're struggling to do free transfers to bring in however many doublers that you want, the free hit is just a beautiful chip to use. Again, if you work around a strategy of, well, I've got good single game week players for game week 31. They're rubbish for game week 32, but I can then use the free hit chip, bring in 11 double game week players, and then in game week 33.
Steve, a question is, I'm assuming you'll be able to, I don't actually know the answer to this, I'm assuming you'll be able to carry your transfers for a free hit this season as well, wouldn't you?
You always could anyway.
Could you?
I'm pretty certain of that, yeah, you could always do that.
Okay.
I could be, do you know what, I don't even know anymore.
I mean, I know you lose your transfer for that week, obviously, but I mean, like, if you had free going into it, then I guess you'd get free going out the next week.
Yeah, I would assume so, yeah. I can't even remember now last year if you could have 2 free transfers and then if you use your free hit, you lose the transfer.
I think you're right. I think you're right, mate. I think you're right.
But either way, I think the free hit is, for me, as high as a B, if not A.
I was even thinking S there. I might be going over.
S?
Yeah, but it's not as powerful as the wild card, though, is it?
No, but that's with the caveat of the fact that of the new rulings that have been put in place.
That's true.
I would argue though that this is what we're here for, to argue.
Yeah.
Is that actually if you're really, really stuffed for transfers and players for a double game week / blank game week, a free hit could be absolutely massive.
Okay.
Genuinely.
Well, let's. It's going to go above a bench boost.
Yes.
So it's going to go into A. I think we'll avoid S. I don't think it's going to go more than wildcard. We could put it in the A, but above or below wildcard. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think for this season, I think the wild card is probably going to be less of an impact as free hit will be because of the whole rolling with transfers, unfortunately.
Well, I went with your call last time, so I'm going to go for my call this time. I'm going to put it below wildcard because I think wildcard still, because you go back to that original team. I think that's the. It can be very powerful in that 1 week, don't get me wrong, but you still go back to that original team. And I think because of that, even if it can have a greater effect in that 1 game week, I don't think it can be as powerful as the wild card. I just saw what's coming next.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Yeah, that's a very, very fair point.
I think we may be going for a tier list without S's here. Let's see. Okay, so we've both made our own individual videos on this particular clip, Steve-O. So this is the assistant manager. How am I going to explain this? We'll just explain we'll explain the basics. I don't even know if I can explain it.
Don't even go into the scoring. God, we'll be here all night.
To be fair, me and you managed to explain it on FPL Juice the other night. I don't think Nick and Ash had any idea what was going on. We did a pretty decent job between us. Steve-O, do you want to try and explain this? So
I'll do the get out clause here. I'll hit the free hit now, and I'll say, if you don't know what the assistant manager chip is, why are you watching this? Let's just talk about what we think about it.
Right, no, I'll give a brief summary. So you can't play it to game week 24, and I think a lot of my and Steve-O's frustrations in this come from how it's been introduced. I think if it had been around since the start of the season, passions may not have been stirred up quite so much. So after game week 24 this season, I'm sure this will come out before game week 24, long before game week 24, you can pick a manager. Well, you're not really picking a manager, you're picking a team for 3 weeks, and you get points from that team based on, you can't lose points. If they win, they draw, you get a certain amount of points if they win, a certain amount of points if they draw, a certain amount of points for a clean sheet, a certain amount of points for goals they score. You could transfer the manager in and out. After the first game week, it's going to cost up to 1.5 million of your budget. Can't play any other chips, which is the same, to be fair, as all the other chips at the same time as this one. It takes up a slot in the team. I'm explaining this I've got this in my head pretty well, actually. And it's very complicated. And
you missed out the most extraordinary part of it, which is.
Yep.
You can transfer your manager out for another manager and then transfer him out for another manager for 3 game weeks.
And also, if your manager is playing a team 5 places above them in your league, it doesn't work out quite this way, but you get a lot more points. You get almost double points for wins and draws. It's very complicated. Steve-O, take it away.
I think us, or you, going through the rulings has just said how amazing this could be.
Can I tell you, Steve? Someone commented on my video about, and I've just actually played this out in real life. They said, "How can this chip not be great?" And I was like, "The point of chips is they're simple to describe." And I went through in the comment and I said, "I can describe every other chip in 20 words or less," which I did. Try explain this to me in 20 words or less. Surprisingly, the commenter didn't reply back, but I reckon that probably between us took about 200 words, and we've probably missed a load of shit out as well.
Yeah, it's something which maybe I'm gonna be cynical again here. Surprise, surprise. But I think because of the day and age we live in now, and we did say this on Juice.
Yeah.
The day and age we live in now, with the amount of content and the amount of people that are willing to put their strategies out online, is that anybody could just be like, what's that guy doing that's doing really well with the assistant manager chip? I'll just play it then. All right, then. Done. Just no thought into it. Whereas I think in the years of Trigger Lips and the mid 2000s, 2009, 10, 11 era, when fantasy football was really at its basic level, but also a lot of conversation around true strategy and trying to legitimately help one another rather than, just answering questions for the sake of it. But anyhow, I think back then this manager chip could have worked really, really well, because there would have been some real discussion around the fact that, this is how I feel I could fit this particular chip and at this particular time, etc., etc. Whereas now throwing it in halfway through this, well, not even halfway through the season, 14 game weeks before the season ends.
It's exactly 2/3 through the season, isn't it, when we can actually use it?
Yes, yeah. And for people like, as I mentioned on Juice, casuals, I wouldn't call us casuals, but just hardcore players that will be trying hard enough to work out how do we use our normal chip strategy, but then to get this thrown upon us, which is making us use my brain a lot, which I haven't used yet so far, and to try and work out, right, this manager will cost me this amount of money, but I must make sure I don't have 3 players from his team to bring him in, because I feel.
Can I say something, Steve-O? I've only just thought this. I think we haven't got the benefit of hindsight here. We don't know how we're going to feel about this at the end of the season, and we also don't know how we'll feel about it in future seasons. I think we can only rate this on how it's been introduced this season. Does that make sense?
Of course. Yeah.
We won't try and rate how powerful it might be in future seasons. We'll just try and rate it on this season. Yeah.
I do agree with what Praz said and what Nick said and Ash said, which is this could really, really elevate your score.
Exactly, and that would make me want to put it in S tier. Had it,
yeah,
and maybe in future seasons it might be, but it's definitely not going to be in S tier.
Yeah, this is almost a trial period of what they call it in the world of computer game, console games, the better version, trying to work out. Yeah, let's try and work out if this map works, if this gun setup works, and so on and so forth. Well, this is almost like the better version of that at the moment, where it's let's just trial it, let's just see if this will work. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are probably just going to do what I expect they're going to do, which is, oh my god, I can use this chip in game week 24. Who's got the best one fixture? It's Man City, Pep Guardiola at home to thingy. Right, click on it. Oh, I can't afford it because he's 1.5 million. What? Oh, forget it. That's what I think could happen. Because remember, you've got to pay for the chip. But you've got to pay for it.
But that will give us more engaged managers an advantage, won't
it? Well, yeah, no, I gather that. I get that. But it's something in which, at the end of the season, FPL Towers are going to look at the data and they're going to go, right, let's see when this particular chip was used and how many managers of the 10 million accounts use this chip. And if it's way under 10%, they're just going to go, forget it. Don't bother with it.
I watch, I play Football Manager quite a bit, and they, a bit of a rant, but they've basically upgraded to a new game engine this year after many, many years of an old game engine. Anyway, basically they're having a lot of problems, so they're cutting lots of bits of the game, and they're doing exactly what you said. They're like, international management, no one plays that, we'll take it out. Some sort of like online leagues, no one uses that. Literally, like they said, 5%, and they've not just said this internally, they've put it in outline, in posts to the community. We'll take that out. So it wouldn't surprise me if this doesn't make it beyond this season. When you view it that way.
Me as a now a non-cynical person, I think it could be brilliant. It'd be great. I always keep using Ruud van Nistelrooy as my simple example, because number one, they're low in the table. Number two, he seems to have done okay with Leicester.
You've got a hard-on for assistant managers. And Ruud van
Nistelrooy. Number three, when they've got... I think I highlighted it on Elite FPL. It's something like game week 30, 31, whatever it is, where Leicester have got 3 decent fixtures. And I was like, you know what? These teams are above them, blah, 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 blah. I just think that rather than complicating the nonsense of if the team is 5 places above, blah, 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 you're going to get extra points. Don't make it. Just do it as if the team is just above you. Just above you. That's it. Even if it's like Leicester are just below Bournemouth in the table by 2 points. I don't care. At least that way it's, but now there are going to be people out there that are literally going to be looking so deep into, well, if I get this particular team in them because they're at the moment 5 places below that, and then when they win there, they're going to move up to this position. So I'm going to, mate, that's dark. That's like proper hardcore, where, like you state, you've got to be full on into this game to really get the benefits out of that chip. Whereas what you said on Juice, which is it's just going to end up for people like me and you who are just hardcore players to go, what's Ben Crellin doing? What's Harry doing? Oh, I'll just do it then. Because I can't be, but I don't have enough time, Gary, to be doing that.
Ash didn't like me saying that. He was
oh no, he's got some fantastic views on that, which I do agree with, but we're not here to talk about that. But me as a 40-year-old man sat here chatting with you with a full-time job and does this as just a simple hobby, that takes away from the fun side of the hobby, because I've got to be like sitting at my laptop going, right, in game weeks 31, 32, 33, right, this player's got these particular things, or even more specifically, the transfer plan that me and Ray have come up with took me, all of 10 minutes, some very, very simple, basic research. This chip, like for the proper hardcore full-on FPL players, and I will say the likes of Ben Crellin and James from Planet FPL, it's a case of they're going to deep dive so much into how to use this chip that actually the FPL towers, and I do think what will happen is people are just going to go, oh, I can't be able to play it. Because I can guarantee my mate Mr. Reed is just going to message me and going to go, why is this assistant manager chip not working? It says it's available for game week 24. I've played it, but it's saying I can't do anything. Why is that? And I went, well, have you got the budget for it? No, I've got nothing in the bank. Well, then you can't use it.
Steve-o.
Now, what would be interesting is that does the chip get cancelled if you can't afford it?
No, it won't get cancelled. They just won't let you play it.
You think they just won't be able to play it?
I don't think you'll play. Still, I'm going to do something, right? I'm going to do this for 2 reasons. Bear with me. I'm going to put it in S tier. It could potentially be S tier, and then we're going to bring it down tiers based on things that annoy us about it. And I'm doing this for another reason. A lot of the time I've learned when you make these tier list videos, people just like fast forward through to find where you put them. So I'm going to really annoy them by moving it down tiers. All right, so it costs you... So S tier, potentially next season, if they got rid of all the complications and they had it available from this season, the start of the season, but we're not basing it on that. We're basing it on this season. Okay, transfers. It costs you a transfer. That's bringing it down to B. Tell me if I'm getting wrong at any stage. If you disagree at any stage, Steve-o.
I forgot about that rule. It costs you. That is mental in itself.
And money. Transfer. I meant money, but yeah. Takes up a place in your team. Down there. Help me, Steve. Other negatives. You can't play it to game week 24, and you didn't. You didn't tell me about it, and I've still got my triple captain left. Do you think that's harsh?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't.
You don't?
We could come out of this at the end of the season and go, I can guarantee you, though, that somebody like me, that if I was to get from Ruud van Nistelrooy for his 3 game for his 3 game weeks, I get 40 points, whereas everybody else has chosen, someone like... I can't think of the manager at the moment. The Lopetegui of West Ham, and he's done absolutely pants. I'm going to be like, yeah, it's the greatest chip ever. I'm glad I used it. But truth be told, I think I'm going to be like...
I'll do one thing still. I'm going to put it above all out attack. I think it's probably going to be better than that.
I'll tell you what, though. I do think that the big content creators, I'm looking at the likes of Black Box, Planet FPL, I think ironically, the discussion around it when it comes to strategy of use, I think that could be really, really insightful conversation pieces. But I'm telling you this for free. It's going to be in one ear and out the other, because I'll be like, I'm so confused by what they're talking about. That I just think that what you summed up at the start of it, which is a chip is supposed to be just a simple way to explain on how to use. And unfortunately, I think there's going to be so many people that are just going to be like, oh, what? That they're never going to use it.
Yeah, and so I think we should preface this one with this could be an S tier, this could be an A tier, a B tier going forward. But as it stands right now of today, not having played it, it's D. Would you... D? You don't want to move up?
No, I'd leave it at D for now.
Nice one. All right, so people are going to be watching and saying, Gary, why have you got...
Well, even I was thinking that.
Price changes in there. Well, I thought... There's a couple of reasons. Okay, obviously, it's not a chip, but it is the one other aspect of the game which kind of affects how we... So there's two things that affect the game. There's obviously how our players actually perform on the field. There's the normal rules of transferring players in and out. There's one other thing that affects our team. Obviously, we don't have any control over how players perform on the field. FPL don't. The normal rules of the game are normal rules of the game. But the one other thing that we can have an opinion on that could be changed is price changes. So obviously here we're not really ranking this as a chip, because there's an argument for price changes. The argument for price changes is Palmer started last season at 5 million, was performing as an 10, 11 million player by the end of the season. I mean, the price changes only got him up to about 6, but there has to be some sort of way that FPL can account for the fact they may have underpriced someone or overpriced someone. But at the same time, it's a very, I've discussed with you, Theo, before on many, many interviews, that it's a very frustrating mechanism. They're not transparent about it and so forth. So I thought we could rate it on that basis, as in terms of whether we like price changes, whether we don't like price changes. Obviously, if we hate price changes, it's going to go in a D. If we love them, and some people do love them, I've discovered since making this channel, we'd put it in an S. So, Steve, I'll let you take this one away.
Well, I wouldn't be an S. I'd definitely be an A. I'd be an A.
Okay. I thought we might disagree with this one, which is another reason to put it in. So, why an A?
I love the price changing aspect of the game, because it is allowing us as FPL managers to potentially look at how we can overcome our rivals. So I'll just use Jason as the simple example, as my closest rival, which is he's jumped on Bruno Fernandes early. In fact, forget that. Let's use Diallo as a better example. He's jumped on Diallo at 4.9. And I see Diallo performing at a rate of an average of 6 points a game. I see Man United's fixtures are improving.
That's the Man United lad.
Ahmed, yeah.
Yeah, Ahmed, yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't really want to be bringing him in yet, because Rodgers has also got some decent fixtures. He's also in more teams, which makes him more template. So if, for argument's sake, I was to get rid of Rodgers and he was to explode during this good run of fixtures, then I've lost those points. All these template teams that have got him as well have gained an advantage on me. And for what? Because I got rid of him for a differential in whoever that may be. So I'd rather just keep Rodgers for now while he's got a good set of fixtures and Ahmed is still underneath the radar. But while Ahmed's performing really, really well, because Jason's a Man United fan and can see the potential of this lad, he's creeping up in price. So he's at 4.9, and he's at 5, and he's at 5.1. But what's happening to Rodgers? This has literally happened to me. He's dropping down in price and down to the point of where people like me are like, wait a minute, Ahmed's got Tottenham tomorrow evening, but I can see that Ahmed's going to go up in price. Rodgers is going to go down in price, which means that I can't actually get Ahmed in for free whatsoever, but Jason's already got him and he had him at 4.9, but I've got to wait until the Man United fixture to see if Ahmed not only starts, but potentially gets through the game unscathed. What do I do? I love that. Because it's almost like a chess game between me and Jason at this point. Jason's seen the future, whereas I'm just playing it safe with Rodgers. Whereas Jason's gone, told you, I brought him at 4.9. He's been doing really, really well. I've got that 0.3 value on top, whereas you're now going to have to buy him at 5.1. I got him at 4.9. And I love that aspect because that potential way is meaning that I now have to spend 4 points, which is actually a true reflection of what's actually happened. I've had to spend 4 points, Gary, to get Ahmed in. Not because I've wanting to bring Ahmed in specifically, but I wanted to get Robinson in and in for 8 Nuri. And I really didn't want to get rid of Cunha yet because I know he's probably going to play against Leicester and it's just a bit of a wasted transfer. So I'm thinking, well, Rodgers is a waste of space at the moment. He's not really doing anything. Ahmed's performing really, really well. How can I get him in for free? I can't. So I'm going to have to do a -4 to bring him in, which is what I've done by getting rid of Verbruggen in for Fabianski. So that means Jason's in theory, 4 points ahead of me, having the player already, which I didn't have that I wanted. I love that aspect of the game, Gary.
Okay, so
I think it's brilliant.
For you, it's going, and I'm going to I'll give my counter argument. So for you, you'd put it as sort of an A, you'd say at the moment.
For me, an A, and obviously we've discussed to death about this.
Okay.
And
let me go on my rant. So,
go for it.
And you know this, Steve-o, but the things there's a part of this big focus this channel is on mental health. I don't think price changes help. Not that they are demoralising to anyone's mental health. No one's developing schizophrenia because Rodgers is going down tomorrow night. But having to check it, having to constantly check. So we've discussed this in your interview on my channel, Steve-o. The fact it's not transparent means we don't know if they're going to go up or down. The fact they go up and down in the week anyway annoys me. The fact that I can plan out a really great transfer move, and then be priced out by the end of the week when nothing's actually changed. Something that you brought up on Juice the other night, Steve-o, I think it was yourself, that we basically only get half the value of those prices.
Yeah, that's a load of twaddle. I hate that. So, I didn't own, and I only just found that out on Juice itself.
Yeah. So for viewers, if I own Palmer and he cost me
10 million, just use 10 million as a
10 million, and he goes up to 10.2. I only get 0.1 out of that. If he goes to 10.4, I only get 0.2 out of that. And what Steve didn't realise until the other night is if he goes down from 10.4 to 10.3, my selling value would then go from 10.2 to 10.1. It's just so needlessly complicated. But at the same time, I do recognise that there needs to be a system in place. And they could actually probably have a better system so that someone like Palmer doesn't stay at 5 million. He actually goes up a lot more. But without
go and do your idea, your amazing idea.
My amazing idea.
Go for it.
So and this is your idea, Steve. We get told with more transparency, this person. Actually, no, this wouldn't happen if. Well, it still could happen. This player's going to go up. So the core of my idea is that players can go up 0.3. They could even go up a minute in the game. There's a limit of 0.3 in a game week. With this, maybe they could go up 0.7. But the actual price increase doesn't take place until after the deadline. So me and Steve are recording this on Friday night. If Palmer's gone up, in theory, 0.3 or 0.4 over the last game week, since the last deadline, that's fine, but that doesn't actually reflect in his price until after the next deadline. So if he cost 10.3 at the last deadline, he won't go up to 10.7 until after the next deadline. So there's dynamic pricing there, but I'm not having to check it every night. I'm not having to worry. And Price pointed this out, because I talked to him about this the other night, that could lead to extremes. If you have more variability in it, maybe he goes up 1 million in a week or something, and you've then got the decision: do I bring him in now on a Friday night when he's 10 million, or do I wait until the next game
see
week?
that, but that's the thing. I see that as a good thing. That adds to the game.
I do.
That makes you think, and it then becomes that Trigger Lips always mentioned, like that chess style of game. It makes you it makes people like me that aren't that real in-depth knowledge about the game, being confused. But it also makes me think, though. It makes me go, well, actually, I understand the game enough to understand that, well, this player was 10 million in game week 17. He's performed really well up to that point. He even got a hat trick in game week 17. Do I want to bring him in at any point during the week? Well, I've got all this time to wait because I know this player's going to be playing in Europe. It's down to me if by the time he gets to game week 18, oh, wait a minute, he's 10.8 now. Bugger, I've completely screwed myself over there.
But do you see what I mean?
Said all week.
But in doing it in this way, it would take away, you'd still keep that jeopardy and you can increase the price more, but I haven't got to make the move in the middle of the week or worry if they're going to. It's much more transparent. And
yes.
I don't know. So my ranking, Steve-O, at the way it is at the minute, I would give it a D. If they made those changes, I would probably be more up for an A or an A probably. So I don't know how we're gonna.
Christ, this is where we are differing. I'd be going up to probably a B for it because I think the price changing is a great feature of the game. Yes, okay, we can bang on about the fact they're not transparent about it. I get all that. That's fine, whatever. There are websites, though, that are available. Specifically, Live FPL is probably what I've now done with research, the best one.
You told me that, and Praz told me that, and then I looked at it last night to see if Isaac was going up, and he was 108% going up, and he didn't.
Now, yes. Now, this is the funny thing, is that over the since I've been banging on about it, the price increases have been completely wrong. You couldn't make it up at all. But either way, it says on their
website it's still like 90%.
Yes.
And including drops as well, which is...
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Which again is it's not particularly accurate on the drops. But point withstanding is that there are sites out there that can help you with X, Y, and Z. Are there people like me out there that do go into this a bit of like panic mode, like, oh my God, will Robinson go up in price? Is Wood going to go up in price? Is Fabianski going to go up in price? Is Ain't Newry going to go down? Yes. I was that person just a couple of days ago. I was literally looking at, but not at 2:00 in the morning. Jesus Christ, like this was at the latest 8:00 in the evening. And I can kind of work out that is this player really going to go up by 0.1 in the next 4 hours? No, of course he bloody isn't. It's fine.
Steve, let's settle this one. So I was going to go for a D. What was your initial rating?
An A or a B, but probably a B.
Should we go C then?
C in the middle? Yeah,
C.
Yeah.
With the caveat that if they... I'm trying to change this tier list on...
It's always been a debate of... It's always been a discussion for years.
Apologies to the viewer there. I just started clicking on the wrong buttons and you would have experienced some visual distortion there. I just clicked on I tried to change the tier list on StreamYard rather than via the actual tier list. Sorry, Steve, what were you saying, mate?
No, it's always been a conversation in the world of FPL, but I think it's just like with a lot of things, because now we have so much access to sites which give us the data to suggest which players are going up and down in price. I think it's more of a talking point. And I think people, like with all these models that have been made by these brilliant geniuses that have come up with these websites and whatnot to help us with plans or price changes and whatnot, is we just wish the actual official game did this. That's all. That's all we as fans of the game want, is that just be on the actual website rather than all these outside sources, which again do amazing work. But why should they be doing that? It should be the game itself. It's just crazy that a game so popular doesn't have these tools on their sites.
Yeah, definitely. So last thing I was going to ask you, Steve-O, going forward, I mean, we've talked about the clips that have been, the clips that are. Would you like to see? It's the start of the 24-25 season. Do you want to see the assistant manager clip in there? Do you want to see more clips? Do you want to see less clips? What's your feeling?
Not that I play it, but I look at the Eredivision's fantasy football game where they have these.
Which one's that, mate?
The Eredivision one.
The
Dutch one.
Yeah.
Where they have these random chips like limitless chip for 1 week, like a budget doesn't exist, or all your defenders get double points, all your strikers get double, whatever the chip strategies are, or the chips are. I just wish FPL introduced more fun ones like that. Just fun ones that, in theory, don't really need... The thing with all chips is that we, as the player, always just think, just play it the double game week, wait to the double game week. I wish, and this is something that Az says a lot, which is you only get the triple captaincy between game weeks 1 and 18.
I've heard it say that, yeah.
Yeah, you only get the bench boost between game weeks 17 and 23.
To be fair, hasn't Az said, isn't his argument that they should that we should have all of the clips twice a season? So instead of not just having the wild card twice a season, we should have the bench boost, free hit, triple captain.
Yeah.
Presumably, maybe the assistant manager.
The second time around, you're just going to use it in the double game week, so it kind of
But I think
it goes back to that.
But I do think that's going to significantly change this season because of the last. I think the way we could make this tier list in a year's time when we've had this season with so fewer double game weeks and the assistant managership and all of these ratings. Well, not all of them, but some of them at least could significantly change.
Yeah, I do agree. And then looking at this tier list right now, I'm looking at it and going, I'd probably agree with a lot of this. I still think that this assistant managership could potentially blow the game up. If it's done in a way in which someone's successful enough with it and can kind of explain to a beginner in a way in which they're going to understand it. Because let's get real here. You explain that to a first-time player, they're going to be like, I'm not playing that chip. I can't be bothered. I'm just going to play it in game week 1.
They might be like, I'm not even going to play this game. It sounds too complicated.
Well, you joke, but it's true. Like, even I can explain to a beginner about price changes in a simple way. I don't really need to go into detail about when the price changes happen. I can just say, these players can... If a player does well, they could go up by 0.1. Or if a player does badly, they could go down by 0.1. That's all you need to say, really. A triple captaincy, you can use it any time of the season, and that player will get triple points. They're simple. Assistant manager, you'd be there for 15 minutes, and they'd still be like, sorry, I don't understand. So I think that chip has been designed really to make the FPL game go, let's make these players think. But they've made it us overthink to the point of where none of us understand it.
If we'd had Limitless in there, where do you reckon that would have ended up? I reckon that could have been... Because I'm looking at this and there's one thing that's staring out at me is that S tier is completely empty.
Completely empty. Well, we both agreed that the wild card would be up there in S.
If it wasn't for the...
If it wasn't for the fact that this season it's 5... The rolling of the transfers.
Where do you think Limitless would have gone in?
Probably where the free hit is. Because it's basically the same chip, isn't it? Apart from you can have any player you want. That's the only difference.
It is, yeah.
Same as, double defender points. Where would that go? Probably B. Probably around B area. A lot of these, it's no coincidence that a lot of the higher tier here in A and B, it's where we get the most points from.
Yeah.
Whereas triple captaincy, there's only an additional 10 points, so to speak. All out attack, it's an additional player. Well, it's just replacing the defender with an attacker. Whoop-de-doo, an additional 10 points, whatever, and then the price changes.
And the more potential variants as well as the.
Of course, of course, yeah. And with Limitless chip, if it did exist, it would be just where the free hit is because you'd be able to go to a game week knowing that. In fact, Boxing Day this year is the perfect example of that. In fact, weren't they talking about on Black Box They were talking on Black Box yesterday about the fact that you look at Boxing Day, you look at the fact that that could be the one game week this season so far where us FPL managers have got a choice of.
Is everyone playing
Saka.
on the same day?
Yes. No. Arsenal are on the Sunday. So, barring Arsenal on the Sunday, every other player with a good fixture. Haaland at home to Everton. Palmer at home to Fulham.
All the different captains.
Yeah. Then you've got Liverpool, Salah at home to Leicester, and then Saka at home to Ipswich. I'm already thinking Saka at home to Ipswich. I'm already thinking it.
I don't want to go too much in this, Steve, because this will happen by the time.
No.
I get what you mean. The variance is. That's the point you're making, isn't it? The variance is going to be a lot bigger in that sort of.
And the point being is that with the limitless chip, it'd be bloody hell. Do I go with 3 Arsenal, 3 Liverpool, 3 Man City? It's just one of those, really. So yeah, I think with we can't even talk about it because it doesn't even bloody exist in this game. So.
Any closing thoughts, Steve-O, before we sign off?
I've just really enjoyed having a conversation with you about a subject matter which I happily will talk about all night with you, anybody, to be honest with you. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that, Gary. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on, Steve-O. Thank you very much for watching. It's a bit of a different one. Please like if you enjoyed the video. Maybe I could try and do a few more other collab videos which aren't interviews if you guys like them. Please subscribe to support the channel, and I will see you in the next video.